The anime begins 30 years in the past, on the border of China and Mongolia. We see a green field where a storm is forming. Apparently, a tornado is forming, and as soon as it descends from the sky, it spreads, destroying everything in its path. The protagonist, Shidou Itsuka, tells us that a massive spatial quake devastated the center of Eurasia, leaving 150 million dead. Suddenly, he is awakened by his younger sister, Kotori Itsuka, who was on top of him. Shidou asks her to get off when suddenly she jumps out of bed and kicks him hard in the stomach. Kotori laughs at Shidou's reaction to being surprised by the kick. He immediately covers himself up to his head, making her annoyed and asking him not to fall asleep and to get up. Shidou warns her to run away because he has the T-virus, pointing out that if she didn't let him sleep for at least another 10 minutes, he would be forced to tickle her. Kotori gets scared and worries about what will happen to her because of the virus. Shidou insists that she shouldn't worry about him and that the most important thing is that she's safe. Suddenly, he screams, frightening Kotori and making her run away crying. After he gets ready and gets up, he sees his sister hiding behind a table, trembling in fear, saying that the T-virus will come for her. Shidou decides to surprise and scare her, then calms her down, telling her that he's feeling better and there's nothing to fear. Kotori becomes happy again. Later, while Shidou prepares breakfast, they both hear the news reporting that in the early morning, a small spatial quake appeared on the outskirts of Tengu City, causing minor damage in the area, with no injuries reported. Shidou is puzzled that this incident has happened again nearby. He explains that spatial quakes are disturbances generated in space with an unknown origin, as the name suggests, when an area of space distorts and destroys everything around it. He also mentions that there were many spatial quakes after the catastrophe. The most well-known one is the one that destroyed the area they lived in Japan called the Great Spatial Quake in southern Kanto. Then, there were no more for 25 years. Just 5 years ago, spatial quakes began to reappear in the reformed city of Tengu. Kotori, with a serious expression, says they need to make a move soon when suddenly she is interrupted by Shidou in a loud voice. He tells her that breakfast is almost ready and tries to take a lollipop out of Kotori's mouth, but he can't do it. He tells her to make sure to finish her entire breakfast. Later, Shidou asks Kotori what she would like for lunch. She wishes for a fancy lunch for kids, to which Shidou replies that it's something she would only find in a restaurant. Immediately, Kotori pleads with him, saying that she needs it, convincing her brother to agree. Kotori tells Shidou that they will meet after school at the Danny's restaurant and that he should come even if a spatial quake occurs. A group of girls from the same school as Shidou sees them and comments that there seems to be a strange affection between them. After Shidou says goodbye to his sister, he is grabbed by the hand by Tanamachi Hiroto, who greets him and expresses joy at seeing him so energetic this semester. Once again, the group of girls comments that there's something unusual between them and that rumors suggest Tanamachi is bisexual. In the distance, a girl with white hair and blue eyes is seen spying on them, and the girls say that she's the super genius. Later, at school, Tanamachi shows Shidou his girlfriend on a dating simulator, explaining that these games teach about how to interact with women. Suddenly, they are interrupted by the super genius Origami trying to communicate with Shidou, but he doesn't recognize her. Tanamachi finds it strange that Shidou doesn't know about the most famous person in the school and asks why Origami knows him. As the class begins, Professor Okamine Tamei introduces herself, receiving applause from the students. Shidou notices that Origami is watching him, which makes him uncomfortable as he tries to remember why she knows him. After class, Tanamachi suggests that he and Shidou leave together, but Shidou declines because he has plans with Kotori. His friend responds that he already knew and concluded that no girl would want to have lunch with him. Shidou is annoyed by this comment. Suddenly, an alarm goes off, informing them that a spatial quake has been detected in the area, and they should seek the nearest shelter. Shidou says they will be safe in the school shelter and sees Origami getting up from her seat and leaving. Out of nowhere, a dark room filled with people in front of screens displaying error controls appears. A mysterious person smiles and says that something is there. Citizens begin to evacuate and seek shelter in safe places, just like the students under the frightened Professor Tamei's orders. Tanamachi reminds her to stay calm. Worried, Shidou calls his sister on his cell phone, hoping she has found shelter, but he remembers their meeting point promise. This makes him even more nervous because she's not answering. He decides to check her location through GPS, which indicates that Kotori is at the restaurant. Without hesitation, Shidou rushes to where his sister is, wondering why she would be waiting for him when the entire city is in shelters. Without expecting it, he is strongly impacted by the spatial quake. He quickly gets up and is surprised to see a beautiful woman in armor emitting a dazzling violet light around her. She was looking at him with a serious gaze. Paralyzed, Shidou wonders what she is doing there. The mysterious woman quickly draws a sword, destroying the area around him, causing him to close his eyes. When he opens them, he sees her pointing the sword at him. She asks him if he's also there to kill her. If that's the case, she'll kill him. Shidou stops her and assures her that he would never kill anyone. Immediately, an armed troop from the sky appears, trying to attack her, but she protects herself with a shield and destroys the missiles with her sword. Observing, Shidou sees that she has great strength but appears sad. He also notices that one of the people in the troop is Origami. Both continue fighting, causing an explosion. Shidou becomes unconscious and confused, hearing voices he doesn't recognize. Suddenly, he wakes up in an infirmary, attended to by an analysis officer named Murasama Rain. He remembers being involved in a battle and panics when he remembers that he was looking for Kotori. Rain tells him that she is fine and that the commander will explain everything to him. Rain takes him to the vice commander, who introduces himself as Kenizuki Kyuhei. Shidou turns and sees his sister, who welcomes him aboard their organization, Ratatosker. Kotori explains that the woman he saw was Princess. She was a spirit who had escaped from them. Shidou interrupts her, but she continues, telling him that she had arranged for the commander to give him a personal explanation and that he should be shedding tears of joy for such an honor. Impressed, Shidou asks if she is really Kotori, to which she asks if he had forgotten his sister's face. Kotori mentions that spirits didn't originally exist in the world and that when they arrived, they caused explosions called spatial quakes. Following that, the AST, anti-spirit forces, was the self-defense group to kill them. She also added that he was another option to eliminate them. Furthermore, she explained that his GPS location appeared above the restaurant due to the FRAXILUS aircraft. Rain shows Shidou the app that Tanamachi had shown him, giving him the mission to make the spirits fall in love. Origami tells Shidou that the spirits were responsible for the death of her parents. We see Shidou playing the first training phase where he successfully makes the character Ririko fall in love, completing the level. Later, in the physical preparation room, Shidou is with Rain when she places her hands on his face. Shidou closes his eyes, thinking she's going to kiss him, but she's only placing the earpiece in his ear. Kotori tells Shidou to start the second phase. This was the practice he had to do with teacher Tamei. Following Kotori's advice, Shidou begins to compliment the teacher, saying that her clothes are cute, to which she feels flattered. Shidou continues by telling her that her hair, glasses, shoes, stockings, and class attendance notebook all suit her well, leaving Tamei somewhat confused. Through the earpiece, Kotori reprimands him for going too far. Rain intervenes through the earpiece and tells Shidou to repeat what she says very carefully. Shidou tells the teacher that he has enjoyed coming to school more since his second year. Tamei becomes happy and says it's good to hear that. Shidou continues by telling her that he has only enjoyed it because she became his teacher and that she is the love of his life. Tamei blushes and tells him that they can't be together in that way, although she is happy that he feels that way. Shidou insists that he is serious and tells her that he wants to marry her. Tamei, carried away by her emotions, tells Shidou that when he is old enough to get married, she will be over 30 years old, and he will have to meet her parents to ask for her hand in marriage. Rain and Kotori, understanding that the situation has gone out of control, tells Shidou that he has achieved his goal, and he should apologize and leave. Shidou, shocked by the teacher's love-struck state, apologizes and flees. As he runs away, he collides with Origami, making her fall, and accidentally sees her panties, to which she calls him a pervert. Kotori tells Shidou to include Origami in the training since she's a challenging person. Shidou tells Origami that she looks good in her clothes, to which she curtly replies that it's the uniform. Rain tries to help Shidou again, and he tells Origami that he has known about her for a long time. Origami says she has known about him too. Shidou continues by saying that he's happy to be in the same class as her and can't take his eyes off her. Origami responds that she feels the same way. Shidou tells her that he smelled her gym uniform after school. Origami again says that she did too. Shidou asks her if she wants to go out with him. Origami replies that she wouldn't mind going out with him. Shidou, not expecting this response, asks if she meant accompanying him somewhere, but she tells him that she thought he wanted to go on a date with her or that she might be mistaken. Pressed, Shidou tells her that she is not mistaken. Origami gives him a photo of herself, saying she likes his uniform. Suddenly, the spatial quake alarm goes off, and Origami has to leave. Immediately, Kotori orders Shidou to withdraw to the FRAXILUS. The princess spirit appears again within the school, and the AST cannot enter. Kotori tells Shidou that he is the only one who can do it due to his training and that Ratatosker is there for any situation that may arise. Shidou approaches, and Princess instinctively defends herself by attacking with her sword. He tells her he is not her enemy, and she, on alert, asks him who he is. The crew analyzes the spirit's mental state and, among them, choose one option out of 3 to help Shidou with the right response. He then tells Princess, "Before asking someone's name, you should tell them yours first." She immediately attacks him again, asking who he is and warning him that if he doesn't answer, it's the end for him. Desperate, Shidou tells her his name and clarifies that he has no intentions of harming her. Princess recalls when they first met and is skeptical that Shidou really doesn't want to kill her. She grabs him by the hair and tells him that she doesn't believe him. He asks her why she's looking at him that way and tells her that not all humans want to kill her. She asks him if he's not trying to kill her, then why did he come to this place? Shidou chooses option 1, which is to get to know her. She asks him why he wants to get to know her. Then he chooses option number 2, which is to become friends with her. She gets angry and cuts the wall behind Shidou. Shidou tells her he's there just to talk and starts getting desperate. He tells her that he won't reject her. She is surprised and tells him to swear it on his life. Shidou swears that he will never reject her. She calls him a fool but says he's the first human who has made an effort to talk to her, and that's very important. Shidou asks her what her name is, and she responds by asking how he would like her to be called. The crew realizes that they don't have much information and decide to consult experts from the world. Kotori gets angry because the proposed names are ridiculous. Until they choose the name, Tome. But this doesn't seem to work well. She tells him that she knew he was just making fun of her. Shidou apologizes and asks her for a few minutes. Shidou tells her that her final name will be Toka. She is happy that Toka is her name and tells Shidou it's wonderful. Suddenly, they are attacked, and Toka asks Shidou to leave because her companions will shoot him if he stays there. He tells her he doesn't care and sits down. He tells her they need to talk and that if she would like to get to know the world better, she shouldn't worry about them. Shidou asks her who or what she really is. Toka says she doesn't know because she suddenly appeared in the past, and her memories are blurry. She also mentions that when she appeared, those people in robotic suits were already there. Kotori tells Shidou that it's his chance since her spirits are above 70 now. She suggests he invite her on a date. Toka gets angry because Shidou was muttering, thinking that he wanted to kill her. Shidou agrees and decides to invite her on a date. Ryuko asks Origami if the spirit still hasn't left. When they see Shidou, Origami decides to attack with a sword. When Toka asks, "What is a date?" she is attacked by Origami. Origami tells her that she won't forgive her for holding him hostage. Toka summons a giant sword, and Kotori tells Shidou that he must get out of there immediately. Toka attacks, and both of them end up being blown away. Ryuko tells Origami that she should stop doing that because she could die. The next day, Shidou says that nothing seemed real, but he's sure he met Toka. Then, he hears a voice, and that voice comes from Toka, and she demands that they have a date right now. Shidou shows her a photo of the clothes she should wear, and she immediately transforms her outfit and tells him they should hurry for the date. We see Toka asking Shidou what that thing in the bakery was. Shidou buys a pastry for Toka, and her mouth waters. Shidou tells her to stop drooling and try it. When she tastes it, she says it's delicious and asks if that was a date. He replies that it wasn't, and she's surprised that something as delicious as that wasn't a date. She asks if that experience meant nothing compared to a date. Toka smells something and thinks that smell is a date. She gets scared of all the people around and says that in that case, she'll devastate the area before the combat team arrives. Shidou stops her and says that no one wants to kill her. Toka sees a child throwing garbage and imitates him. Then, she returns to Shidou and leans her head to receive affection. She realizes that a date is quite complicated. Shidou's classmates see him and wonder if he's cheating on Tanamachi. Origami, who was watching, says that the girl is a spirit but doesn't understand why there's no spatial quake there, and she requests an observation device. We see that Toka wants to enter a food place, but Tanamachi suddenly appears, interrupting them. Upon seeing that he's with a girl, he tells Shidou how could he not have told anything to the king of school gossip. Toka enters the store, and Tanamachi tells Shidou that his girlfriend is also quite luxurious and shows him his video game. The waitress welcomes them to the restaurant, and Shidou realizes that it's Rain. She hits him in the face with the menu and tells him they know that the princess avoided the radars and returned to the world. Toka calls Shidou, and he sits with her, but everyone looks at them with disapproval. Suddenly, the waitress, who apparently is Kotori, arrives. When Shidou is about to say his name, she hits him in the face. Kotori offers them her dish called Special Devastator. They bring a lot of food, but Toka seems to devour it very easily. Shidou asks Kotori what she's trying to do. She says she's maximizing the chances of Toka falling in love. She tells him that when they finish eating, he should take Toka to the south of the station. We see how they prepare everything to make it a perfect date for Shidou. Suddenly, they are congratulated by bad marriage because supposedly they were the 100,000th visitors. They could eat as much as they wanted for free. Toka gets excited and runs into the city to eat. Meanwhile, the researchers see how Toka falls into the trap. Kotori says that she is keeping the AST members at bay. We see that Origami is still having interference problems. Meanwhile, Toka continues to eat from all the food dishes. She asks Shidou if he's not having fun because he looks a bit serious. He tells her that he's having a lot of fun but is just a bit tense. She blushes and takes Shidou's hand. After playing a fair game, they win tickets to the Dream Park. Toka gets excited. Shidou tells Toka that they should leave, but she thinks that's the real purpose of a date. He tells her it might be, but they have to go because they are underage. We see that Origami was waiting for them inside. After giving her coordinates, she puts on her suit. The researchers are surprised that they didn't enter, but Kotori isn't worried because Shidou usually takes things easy. Suddenly, it starts raining even though there are no clouds nearby. They enter a video game and plush toy arcade. Toka gets angry because she can't pick up a plush toy with the claw. Shidou tells her that it's very difficult to pick one up. He looks for an easier machine to win the plush toy and sees a researcher dressed as a claw, but he ignores him. He decides that Toka and he should try to get it together and tells her they only have one chance. When they are about to succeed, the plush toy falls on the edge, and they can't get it out. Shidou apologizes, but Toka starts yelling at the machine because they had worked hard together to win the plush toy. Somehow, she manages to make the plush toy fall. Both of them get excited. It starts to get dark, and Toka tells Shidou that she had a lot of fun. She asks Shidou what a date is. He replies that it's when a girl and a boy go out together and have fun. Toka says it was definitely a date. We see Ryuko surprised because the spirit didn't create a spatial quake. When Origami is about to shoot, Ryuko stops her because they hadn't received orders yet. But suddenly, she receives the order that she can shoot. Toka says that humans are very kind, and Shidou replies yes, as no one had tried to kill her. Toka says she understands mecha because when she appeared, she would destroy something beautiful in the world. She says it would be better if she wasn't there. He tells her that she didn't create any spatial quake, but Toka says she doesn't know what might happen next time. Shidou tells her to stay there, and he will take care of everything. Toka asks if she can really stay in that world. Shidou tells her yes and says that if people refuse to accept her, he will accept her even more. When he reaches out to shake hands with Toka, she is shot, but he manages to save her, taking the shot and turning into a plush toy. Seeing this, Origami becomes paralyzed. Toka sees Shidou in a pool of blood and says that she thought this time she could really do it, but she says the world rejected her. Suddenly, she equips her armor and decides to draw her sword, launching a devastating attack where Origami was. Ryuko asks her to leave, but she is focused on Shidou. Toka arrives where Origami is and blames her for killing Shidou. The researchers realize that Shidou has no pulse, and we see Toka attacking Origami recklessly. Apparently, Kotori is not worried about Shidou because she says he wouldn't fall so easily. We see Shidou manage to get up. Kotori says that even if he dies, he will always reach the continue button. Toka is destroying everything around her, and Origami says she is just like a spirit because she killed someone. When Origami says goodbye to everyone, Shidou appears crying, and Toka hugs him and starts crying. But it seems like she's losing control. Kotori tells him to try the safe way to save a princess that she taught him. Shidou tells her they should kiss, and in an innocent tone, she tells him to teach her what a kiss is. When he is explaining, she kisses Shidou. He apologizes, but she tells him not to move away from her because people will see her without clothes. She asks Shidou if they can have another date. He says yes, and she gets excited. We return to our protagonist, trying to hide from the rain. Suddenly, a girl falls in front of him. When he goes to see if she's okay, she moves away and tells him not to touch her and not to harm her, please. Shidou is at school, and Toka arrives to give him some cookies she prepared. Origami is also there wearing an apron. She apologizes to Shidou, and her classmates think he was threatening her. She asks Toka what she's still doing there, and Toka responds that it's none of her business. They argue about who made the best cookies for Shidou. Toka decides to taste one of Origami's cookies and seems to like it a lot but pretends they're bad. Shidou tries both cookies at the same time and says they're both delicious. However, they continue arguing. Out of nowhere, Tanamachi arrives with more cookies for Shidou because his girlfriend couldn't eat them. We see Shidou in the rain again, and he remembers when he met the girl from that day. He returned her toy, and the toy started talking to Shidou. He returns home and tells Kotori that he's going to take a bath, but there's Toka bathing there. She hits Shidou. Shidou asks Kotori why Toka is in their house, and she replies that now Toka lives with them. Rain tells him that Toka is there because after he kissed her and sealed her powers, she would be in her post-treatment. Kotori explains that after he kisses a spirit, he seals their powers. He doesn't understand how he can do that. Rain says there's a possibility that without a good mood, she could lose control and regain her powers, and as long as she stays calm, this won't happen. Kotori says he still needs to finish the training, and he argues that it doesn't make sense because he already sealed Toka's powers. Kotori tells him that Toka is not the only spirit. Shidou complains that they let Toka stay and live with him. She hears him and asks if he doesn't like that she can stay there. He doesn't answer. Then, Kotori asks Shidou to change the bathroom light bulb because it burned out. When he enters the bathroom, Toka is there, and she hits him. Kotori tells him to go take a bath. Frustrated, Shidou shows her some bubbles and says that Kotori would never resist a bubble bath, but she tells him to go enjoy them himself. Toka appears, and Shidou decides to go take a bath. Suddenly, Toka enters and jumps into the tub where Shidou is. She blushes and tries to drown Shidou. The next morning, Shidou wakes up and accidentally grabs Toka's breasts. At school, Toka and Origami fight to see who gets to sit with Shidou. Origami notices that Shidou and Toka's lunches are very similar. Shidou says they met at the store, but Origami accuses him of lying because she knows he bought his lunch another day. Shidou nervously sweats. At that moment, the loudspeakers announce a spatial quake in the area. Shidou asks if they will leave Toka with them. Rain says yes, as for now, she's just a common human. Shidou asks his teacher to take care of Toka. He goes to Kotori, who tells him the quake isn't as significant as previous ones. They mention that the spirit's name is Hermit, and records describe her as calm and docile. Shidou realizes he knows this girl. Suddenly, the Ast attacks Hermit, but she evades the bullets. Shidou tells Kotori he wants to save that girl, and Kotori prepares level 1 capture to start the date. Shidou gets ready to find Hermit, and when he finds her, he gets startled. Hermit's puppet tells him he's a lucky pervert. At that moment, the investigators decide to choose an option. They choose option 3. He tells Hermit that he didn't know what she was talking about and that he was just a stranger passing by. She mocks him, saying it's very funny. He introduces himself as Shidou and then asks her what her name is. She responds with Yoshinon. Shidou asks if that's the name of the puppet or her. This causes the spirit's mood to drop drastically. She tells him she doesn't know what he's talking about. Kotori says he should cheer her up. He manages to cheer her up again. Yoshino asks him what he's looking for, and he asks her to have a date. Toka asks if it's really dangerous outside, and the girls are surprised that she doesn't know what a spatial quake is. Toka asks the teacher where Shidou went, but she doesn't know the answer. Suddenly, Toka disappears. The Ast wants to attack the building where Hermit was, but they can't do it because it would cause too much damage. Ryuko tells Origami that it's strange that there's a girl who looks like Princess in their class. But despite that, they haven't detected any spirits. We see Hermit perched in a high place, and Shidou tells her she should get down because it's dangerous. Out of nowhere, Hermit falls on top of Shidou, and they accidentally kiss. Her mood starts to deteriorate again. At that moment, Kotori tells him that he has a problem. Toka appears there, looking very angry. It seems that Toka managed to regain her powers and destroys the ground. Hermit tells Toka that Shidou had grown tired of her. Hermit says that she can't blame Shidou for falling in love with someone as beautiful as Yoshino. Toka starts screaming and takes Yoshino's doll from her. Yoshino timidly asks her to please give it back. Kotori tells Shino that Hermit's mood is deteriorating rapidly. Shidou asks Toka to return the plushie, and she believes that Shidou really has feelings for Yoshino. Out of nowhere, Yoshino summons a giant plushie. She shatters the glass and turns the rain into ice to attack them. She runs out of the window and is attacked by the Ast but manages to escape through a snowstorm. Toka tells Shidou not to touch her again because he cares more about Yoshino than her. Toka remains angry with Shidou for what happened. Kotori says that even though Shidou kissed Hermit, it didn't seal her powers. She also talks about how the powers Toka had regained were quickly sealed again. Rain, who was with Toka, asks her what's bothering her and if it has something to do with Shidou being with other girls. Toka says she can't know yet and doesn't know why she feels this way. We see that Shidou encounters Yoshino again and tells her he won't hurt her and asks if she's still looking for her puppet. Toka says she was hurt a lot by Shidou kissing another girl and that she feels very scared. Shidou asks Kotori if she knows where the puppet is so he can go look for it. Shidou tells Yoshinon to go look for it. She says her name isn't Yoshinon, that's her puppet's name. She is Yoshino. Rain tells Toka that there's nothing wrong with her and that Shidou and Yoshino's kiss was an accident. Shidou asks Yoshino what's so important about her puppet, and she replies that it's her best friend, and he was a hero. She says she would love to be like Yoshinon. Shidou says he really likes her the way she is now, which makes Yoshino very happy. She tries Shidou's dish, and it seems to please her a lot. Shidou asks why she doesn't defend herself when the Ast attacks her. She replies that she doesn't like hurting people or causing them fear. She also says that's why Yoshinon always saves her. Shidou puts his hand on her head and says he will be her hero now. He apologizes for the time he kissed her and explains that a kiss is when two people press their lips together. When Shidou is about to kiss Yoshino again, Toka enters. She gets angry and leaves the room. Later, we see Toka in her room, looking sad and hitting her pillow. Kotori tells Shino that they saw Origami collecting Yoshino's puppet, so he goes in search of the puppet but sees Origami dressed as a waitress. She invites him in, but suddenly, she is on top of him and proposes a trade. She tells him that she will get off him only if, instead of calling her Origami, he calls her Origami, just like he does with Toka. He accepts, and she gets off him. Origami heads to take a shower while Shidou searches for the puppet everywhere, but he fails and starts to get heated. Origami enters the room wrapped in a towel. This makes Shidou nervous. He asks her if she hates all spirits and if she doesn't think there are good spirits. She tells him no because they all destroy something when they appear. Shidou tells her it's not like that, but Origami says she will never forget that 5 years ago, spirits killed her parents. And it was a spirit with crimson flames that killed them. She tells him that not even Toka is an exception. Although Shidou tries to convince her that Toka no longer has her powers, she says she could still get them back. He says that's not the case, and Origami asks him how he knows. She also asks him, "What are you?" Since in her last mission, she knows she gave him a lethal blow that should have killed him. He asks her if she ever talked to a spirit, and she says no. Shidou tells her that he has talked to more than one spirit, not only Toka but also the one they call Hermit. She tells him it's dangerous and he should stop. He says no because both of them are very kind people. He tells her he doesn't want her to kill more good people. She says that even if Hermit is good, spacequakes will still occur. Suddenly, Origami's phone rings, and it's for a new mission. Shidou asks her if she would attack the spirits even if they lost their powers. Origami replies that it's her duty, even if she doesn't want to. We see how the Ast attacks Yoshino, who looks quite scared. She summons her plushy angel to save her. She carves everything around her. While being attacked, she shoots a beam from her mouth and freezes 2 Ast members. Out of nowhere, Shidou shouts at Yoshino, and when she's about to give him her puppet, she's attacked by Origami. Ryuko tells Shidou that it's dangerous, and they need to evacuate. Apparently, Yoshino's angel wants to exterminate Shidou, but just then, Toka arrives, trying to use her powers, but it seems she can't. The angel attacks, but just at that moment, Toka manages to use her powers to defend Shidou. She apologizes for not getting angry with him earlier. He tells her it's not her fault but that he would need her help because he wanted to save Yoshino. Toka tells him that Yoshino was more important to him than she was. Shidou explains that she is a spirit, just like Toka, and asks her to lend him her power because he really wants to save her. She remembers how he saved her and agrees. Origami uses a building to attack Yoshino, but her attack is thwarted by Toka, who immediately begins to fight her. Shidou prepares to enter the barrier and give the puppet to Yoshino. Motorola tells him that his regeneration won't work if he enters that barrier because it's not like just one shot but more like a shotgun blast of bullets. We see how Shino manages to enter but collapses on the ground. Then he hands the puppet to Yoshino, and she starts crying tears of happiness. Shino says he will help her and asks her if she remembers what he mentioned about the kiss. Yoshino kisses him, and she says she will believe in him. After that, she becomes naked, and her angel disappears. In the sky, a beautiful rainbow appears. Shino asks Toka if she's okay, and she says she is. Yoshino is afraid, but Shino reassures her. Suddenly, Kotori enters and hits Shino, but then she hugs him because she was very afraid that something had happened to him. We see the Ast being ambushed by some sort of pink-colored rays. Shidou tells Kotori that Toka and Yoshino want to go to the hot springs. She says it's okay because she needs to fulfill the spirit's wishes to make them feel better. The vice commander tells her that he can take her place so she can have fun with them, but Kotori refuses. and he asks her what she's planning. He says, of course, he's not thinking of doubling the number of autonomous cameras. He also says he wouldn't use them to photograph Kotori's entire body because she hasn't developed yet. Kotori tells the guards to take him away. The head of the AST reprimands the commander for losing to some mere commoners. When she's alone in her office, she scatters all the papers in the air. Suddenly, a girl enters and tells her that the company trip is coming up. The commander gets excited, but the girl tells her that the trip was cancelled due to the recent increase in spirit attacks. This makes her even angrier. The girl tells her that thanks to her hard work, the AST wants to invite her to the Tengu Gokuraku hot springs, which happens to be the same place Shino is heading to. She becomes happy and hugs her, imagining what her relaxation will be like there. The captain tells all the AST members that they will go to the hot springs. Everyone gets excited except for Origami. She says they should use that time to train. Suddenly, she is called by Shinao, asking if she could leave the book for a few more days. There, she overhears Toka telling Shidou that she wants to go to the hot springs soon. This makes her angry, and she crushes a soda can. We see how Shidou and the spirits head to the hot springs. Yoshino asks Shidou what the spinning thing is, and he tells her it's a barber pole. Out of jealousy, Toka kicks the ground and breaks the whole street. The AST would go to the hot springs by train, and we see that the captain and Origami dress quite strangely for the trip. Suddenly, the train enters a simulation. A girl asks what's happening, and they tell her they had to stop because there was a spacequake. The captain orders them to leave the train and walk to their destination. We see how Shidou and the others also have to walk because the car was destroyed. Toka apologizes to Shidou, but he tells her not to worry because he wasn't angry and pets Toka's head. Out of nowhere, a sewer cover is lifted, and red eyes appear in it. The researchers realize that the AST is there, very close to Shidou and the others. Since neither Kotori nor the vice commander were available, the bad marriage captain would act as the commander. They decide to defend Shidou at all costs so that the AST doesn't catch up to him. They, who only want to go to the hot springs, begin to have problems. And the captain asks Origami to recognize the place so they can continue heading to the objective. Shidou and the others enter a food place and he manages to see Kotori. He asks her why she was there, and she tells him it's because she should help him. Shidou realizes that Kotori wants to go with them to the hot springs. When she agrees to go with Shidou to the hot springs, she is called on her earpiece and tells him that she will see him at the hot springs. We see how the AST continues to have problems getting to the hot springs. Kotori realizes that the AST is causing them trouble, so she decides that everyone should go into battle mode and open fire if necessary. The AST is attacked and stuck with a strange green glue-like substance. While Ryuko and Origami stay on guard, they continue to be attacked by all the things in the area. Origami realizes that the enemy doesn't want them to go to the hot springs. We see how the AST manages to destroy all the weapons they had around. Out of nowhere, a missile falls on Shidou and the others, causing Yoshinon to be sent flying. Yoshino immediately starts crying, and Shidou tells her to calm down and that he will find Yoshinon. The researchers, seeing that they can't stop the AST, activate destruction mode. At that moment, they activate all the weapons they have in the area. The only ones who manage to reduce the attacks are the commander and Origami. She says that the girls worked hard to go to the hot springs, and she takes out a machine gun, destroying all the buildings around, then throws a grenade to finish burning everything. She tells all the girls to work together to destroy everything. Shino is surprised that they are destroying everything when there were no spirits nearby. He continues to run looking for the puppet while they destroy everything. Shidou manages to find Yoshinon, but a giant bomb falls on him and explodes. But apparently, Toka manages to defend him with her power. The AST tells their captain that Princess has appeared again, but unfortunately, they can't communicate with her. Origami says she will take care of it, but out of nowhere, Shidou and Toka disappear. We see that the captain managed to arrive with the AST after a long journey. When they all get into the hot springs, they are frozen by Hermit's powers. Toka and Yoshino ask Shidou if he feels okay, to which he replies yes, and Kotori tells him to relax, because he would soon have work to do. We see Takamiya, who has a 10 vs 1 training session against Origami's squad, of which she already defeated most. Only Origami was left, but in the end, Takamiya turns out to be the winner. After introducing herself to the rest of the group, the captain scolds both of them for breaking their suits during practice in the simulation. Origami asks her if she really killed a spirit alone. She answers yes. After the meeting, Origami says she had no idea Shidou had a younger sister like her. Origami lies to her that they are lovers. The next day, a new classmate named Tokasaki Kurumi introduces herself and tells everyone that she's a spirit. She also asks if anyone could give her a tour of the school. A boy volunteers, but she rejects him and goes for Shidou. At the station, they are shown that she is a cursed spirit who has killed more than 10,000 people, and they should be careful. Shidou is informed to be cautious as he gives her the tour. We can see how jealous his classmates become. Continuing the mission to make the demon fall in love, we see that he is already succeeding without much effort. At the station, the commander is removed for suggesting the question, "What kind of underwear are you wearing?" Words that Kotori says out loud and Shidou repeats by mistake, thinking it was part of the plan. Surprisingly, Kurumi doesn't take offense, and she says she's willing to show him. But Shidou is embarrassed and changes the subject to what she meant when she said she is a spirit in front of everyone. But Kurumi tells him she knows him very well and doesn't have to pretend she doesn't know he's a spirit. Although she doesn't tell him where she got her information, and she admits that she's very interested in him and wants to ask him something she hopes he can fulfill. Out of nowhere, Toka and Origami fall to the floor, having been eavesdropping on their conversation, and they appear very jealous, demanding explanations as to why they were holding hands. Kurumi says she feels really bad, so both girls pretend to feel unwell, and the three gossiping girls suddenly appear to talk badly about Shidou. At sunset, Kurumi thanks Shidou for the school tour, but she whispers in his ear that she would have preferred it to be just the two of them and then leaves. On her way, Kurumi runs into three guys who try to hit on her, and she invites them into a dark alley. We see her ruthlessly eliminate them, and we see that Takamiya witnesses what happened and calls Kurosaki nightmare, then goes to Shidou. He is with Toka when Takamiya appears and hugs him, calling him little brother. Then they take her to their home and she introduces herself to the other girls. Toka mentions that she didn't know Shidou had a sister, to which Kotori tells her that she's also his sister, and Takamiya is confused, asking if they are sisters. Kotori tells her they are not and that she is Shidou's sister from the orphanage. Then Shidou mentions that he doesn't remember her, and Takamiya says she doesn't remember him either, surprising the girls. And starting to not remember anything, not even her mother, she carries a necklace with them as kids. Even though she doesn't remember anything from the past, she is sure that he is her brother and hugs him. Shidou ends up getting a kick from Kotori and saying that he won't allow them to take him away from her side. Although Takamiya says she has no intention of stealing him and would be very happy to see him enjoy his life. Then she says that the best sister is the one who is of blood, and Kotori says at least they can marry him. This makes the girls fight and ask Shidou who the best sister is. To which Shidou changes the subject and asks Takamiya where she is living, and she tries to ignore the question and ends up running away. The next day, the teacher was taking attendance, and Kurumi arrives late, surprising Origami. She immediately receives a message from Kotori to Shidou to tell him about an emergency. With the girls, they show him a video from the previous day's security camera where Kurumi and Takamiya appear, with the asked group and Origami, ending Kuromi's life since she is a cursed spirit. Then we see that Kuromi called Origami to speak privately, where Kuromi attacks her and tells her that she is more obsessed with Shidou than she is. We see how Kuromi can create multiple clones of herself, and one of them was talking to Shidou, where they agreed to have a date at 10:30 a.m. The girls organize a plan for them to go out since he could handle the situation quickly, all with the goal of making her fall in love with him so they can eliminate her as she is a threat. Origami appears to tell Shidou something, but he doesn't have time and runs away. Then we see what happened with Kuromi and Origami, where Kuromi says she will end her, but at that moment, she disappears to join Shidou. Now we see how the three girls enter and see Toka crying because she couldn't see Shidou all day, and they decide to help her. Once they arrive at the house, Toka closes the door, the curtains, and starts following the plan the girls told her. The plan was to offer him tickets for both of them in a very provocative way, and when it doesn't seem to work, she moves on to the next step written on a piece of paper. Step 2 was to get closer and tell him more provocatively, which made Shidou give her the tickets out of nervousness. Toka is happy and says she'll meet him tomorrow at 10 a.m. at the place where she'll have her date with Kuromi. Furthermore, he receives a call from Origami, who tells him she's waiting for him at the same park tomorrow at 11. The next day, Shidou is forced to have 3 dates at once. Kotori says she'll help him organize everything to make it work. Toka is the first to arrive, and Shidou tells her she looks very beautiful in that outfit, which makes her embarrassed. On the cameras, Origami is seen arriving very early because she's excited about her date with him. Shidou says they will go see many fish, and Toka asks if they'll be grilled because she loves eating them that way. But Shidou takes her to an aquarium, where Toka is fascinated by all the animals, and they notify her that she doesn't have much time. To which Shidou invents that he has a stomachache and runs off to an empty place so he can be teleported and get to his next date faster, where he can barely make it on time for the date with Kurumi, and she asks him where they're going. The vote is open, and they choose to go to a lingerie store, an option based on the fact that she agreed to show her underwear last time. Kurumi accepts with the hope that he'll choose something cute for her. In the store, Kurumi gives him a choice between two outfits. Shidou gets nervous and ends up choosing a black set because he thinks it will look nice on her. So Kurumi goes to try it on for him while being observed by nearby girls with great interest. Kurumi comes out of the fitting room wearing the beautiful set, and suddenly, the gossip girls from school see him and call him a pervert, to which he pretends to have a stomachache to escape from the place and go to his next date. Shidou apologizes for being late, and Origami lies to him, saying she had just arrived when she had actually been there 30 minutes earlier. Then they go to have lunch, and Shidou asks her why she wanted to go out with him. Origami replies that she wanted to watch him eat, see a movie with him, and then go to his house to do something with him, but she'll tell him when they get there. Kotori mentions that she hasn't changed at all, and through the cameras, they see Toka running, and Shidou can see her through the window. So, he pretends to have a stomachache from eating too much, even though he hadn't touched his plate of food. He meets up with Toka and notices that she's hungry, so he takes her to eat fish and manages to entertain her to slip away and be teleported. We see how he tries to keep the date with all the girls, but as more examples pass, it becomes increasingly difficult. And then we see that little Yoshino is sent to help him, and the dates become more and more complicated. Yoshino falls from exhaustion and is transported back so she can rest peacefully. Kurumi says that despite being on a date, Shidou is more active than usual and buys a soda, while listening to some young people having fun hurting a small kitten with weapons for amusement. Kurumi approaches them and asks if she can play with them, but with a slight change in the rules. We see that the camera is blinded, and they can't see anything that happens. Then we see that Toka and Origami collide by mistake and get into a fight. Both of them mention during the argument that they are on a date with Shidou, but they call each other liars because they think the other is lying. Origami has a bad feeling and goes in search of Shidou. When she sees him, they call him to report that they lost sight of Kurumi. While looking for Kurumi, the cameras focus on trees covered in blood, and Shidou sees a scene filled with blood and a corpse. He screams in shock, and Kurumi says they deserve it, and if they're willing to hurt others, they should be ready to be hurt. She finishes by ruthlessly shooting the last guy, and they ask Shidou to leave, but she won't allow it and traps him with her hands. But a force pushes him away from her, and Takamiya appears in her suit to help him and tell him that was close. We see that it doesn't take Takamiya much time to kill her, but this was just one of many clones of her. She tells him she's a clone and doesn't know how many times she'll have to kill her, but it doesn't matter because she'll end all of her versions. Shidou tells her not to say things like that as they'll only make her insensitive, and she pushes him away with a force field and then has a headache. Both girls find Shidou and see that he's injured, but he doesn't feel like talking and leaves the place. At sunset, he sees Toka, who was waiting for him to cheer him up, and she invites him to eat many things, telling him not to hold back because she's paying today. And he tells her that he's worried about all of this and wants Kuromi to stop hurting people and save her. Even though he doesn't believe he can do it, she supports him, saying that he can, just like he did with her, and she asks him to stay a little longer to see the beautiful view of the place. The next day, Kuromi appears, and her classmates call him a pervert, but he confesses that he will save her at all costs, and she wishes him luck. He goes to the school roof to activate a powerful spell to confirm if his words were true. Then Takamiya can't believe that his brother works for Ratatosker and asks him to stop exposing him to so much danger. And Kotori tells her that she knows she works for Dem Industries and is a spy sent by Ast, which surprises her. While they inform her that they can't find any trace of Kuromi, we see her activating the spell, and her classmates are unconscious. Takamiya says that she is indebted to Dem since they cured her of her brain cancer and gave her a purpose in life. And what she doesn't know is that they analyzed a sample of her DNA in the laboratory and provided her with enormous amounts of energy, so she probably has less than a year of life left. Before telling her the truth, a call makes the girls run to the place while Shidou talks to Toka, and she says she feels very tired. By harboring the powers of Toka and Yoshino, he is the only one capable of moving freely in that environment, and Kurumi calls him over the school megaphone asking him to come to the roof. Despite being very exhausted, Origami decides to activate her combat suit to go into battle. Upon arriving on the rooftop, they were waiting for him, and one clone goes after Origami and another after Toka. Kurumi explains that this field drains time from those inside it, and she uses it as residual time, so to speak. Since her angel is very powerful but needs to feed on others from time to time, but her real goal is him, and she wants to consume him. And we see that he asks her to take him instead of hurting his friends, and she prepares an electromagnetic pulse that, if launched, will end all the students. Seeing what she intends to do, he tells her he will end his life, and she doesn't believe him but ends up jumping off the roof. Quickly, she rescues him and says he's crazier than her and removes the barrier from the place for fear that he'll bite his tongue. He asks her to go with him, and she's taken aback by this and is shot by another version of herself, saying that a part of her will go with him but not today. She captures him again, and Takamiya appears, easily cutting her, and she's impressed by the strength of the armor. She then summons her angel Zafkiel, her S-rank angel, along with her gun, and fires it to go back to the past when her arm was in her body. Both girls start to fight, but the difference in abilities is superior in Kuromi, and she ends up defeating her. When the other girls arrive, Kuromi decides to bring many temporal versions of herself to finish them off. Finally, she decides to use the electromagnetic field to finish off everyone in the area, but it is suddenly destroyed by someone who turns out to be Kotori with the manifestation of her angel, and she challenges her to a battle. Kuromi accepts and uses her ability Zafkiel Zion, which freezes the enemy's time, and uses her clones to shoot multiple times and finally hits her in the head. Although this had no effect on her, and she recovers easily, Kurumi is forced to shoot multiple times to enhance her power. But Kotori decides to end this once and for all and shoots her with her ancestral weapon, severely weakening Kuromi. We see Kotori being blinded by her power and planning to kill her, but Shidou tries to stop this in order to heal Kuromi. Despite this, Kotori accidentally shoots, and Shidou has a vision of a smaller Kotori crying on a stage full of fire. When he wakes up, we see Yoshino waiting for him to wake up, and Toka stayed with him all night waiting for him to wake up. Rain sees that he finally woke up, and he gets agitated asking what happened, but she calms him down with a hug. She tells him that Origami and Takamiya are in the hospital being treated urgently, and Kurumi escaped. And we see Kotori in an isolated room where they can see her but she can't see them. Shidou enters and asks her if she's a spirit, but she tells him that she really believes in herself after everything that happened and losing control. He tells her that he believes in her and will believe whatever she tells him. Kotori claims to be human, but recent studies say otherwise. Although she remembers being born into a family's home, she turned into a spirit 5 years ago. Or rather, a human with spirit abilities, and he says he already knew or that he dreamed it when he passed out. The two of them as children, with her being the cause of the fire, but Kuromi denies acting that way. Although she later claims that due to the seal, some memories must have been unlocked, and she doesn't remember how the day of her transformation happened, and that she could have been in that form because he himself gave her permission to break free and use all her power. Then she asks him to come closer to her, and she hits him and apologizes at the same time for almost killing him, but she doesn't know how she loses control. She tells him that they need to seal her powers again by having a date together, just as he did with the other girls. Then she gets dizzy and asks for some time to recover, and later they inform him that Kotori has only 2 days left to live. The new mission is for him to have a date with her to save her. Then he goes to visit Takamiya, but they don't let him see her, and Origami appears and informs him that she is being treated with advanced technology due to her condition. Then he leaves, but Origami throws herself on the floor to force him to spend time with her, making him peel an apple for her and feed her, and gradually doing more and more daring things. Finally, before leaving, she asks him to tell her about the fire angel that appeared yesterday since she fainted. He lies that he also fainted and doesn't know anything but asks her what's so important about it. And she tells him that 5 years ago, the same spirit burned down the house where she lived and ended up killing her parents. This traumatized her a lot, and she would do anything to get rid of Ifrit. The next day, they ask Origami to be happy because she will be discharged, and tomorrow she will bring new military equipment. In the barracks, everyone agrees that the best place for the date is a water park, and they also have a training course for him. Now we see that the training was to go buy a swimsuit, and they explain how disastrous it would be if he went on the date with a bad swimsuit. They will also measure his heart rate to see who has a better chance, and Toka asks what that is. To which Origami jokes, saying it's a new advanced military weapon on sale at the mall. Seeing that he almost believes it, the boy looks desperate, and then Origami asks him kindly about yesterday, and asks him what he knows about the fire spirit, to which Toka replies that it was red and very powerful and it could fly. Seeing that she doesn't know much about it, Origami asks Shidou if he helps her choose a new swimsuit, and it turns into a challenge to see who can excite the boy more will be his date tomorrow. The same 3 girls as always tease him again and leave, while Toka comes out with a beautiful white outfit that excites the boy. But Origami doesn't lag behind, looking cute in a black bikini, and this makes Toka try even harder, coming out of the dressing room with something much more provocative, and in the end, it seems like she gave up as she didn't have a better bikini. But it was all a trap to get closer to him and let him touch her, making her heart beat much faster. But Yoshino asks for help, and he opens the dressing room where he sees that she can't change with one hand, and she ends up being the winner. Then he regrets not remembering anything from the past, but they show him a video they recovered of them as children, where it is seen that he did cause the fire, but when he pauses the video, there is a strange silhouette in the video, and perhaps that is the responsible for everything that happened. Then the boy faints, and the next day Kyuhei apologizes for stressing him out with the video. We see that the date begins, and Kotori tells him that he should compliment when he sees a pretty girl arrive. And not only she arrives, but also Toka and Yoshino, and they inform him that it is the best for the mission. Once at the pool, he tells her that she looks cute in the bikini, and she assures that they only say that because of her broadcast. And if not, she asks him to say which part of the bikini he likes the most, to which he ends up saying her breasts because he followed the transmitter and Kyohei's advice. Toka wants to go on the slide with the boy, and Kotori is forced to go, but since none of the others go with him, they end up sliding together. Then they fall and hug the boy out of fear, but he says he's okay, he was just looking for his hair date. When they are eating, the girls tell him to relax because it's too obvious that he's tense. And then Rain calls for advice, but Kyuhei answers, telling her that she's not there. Shidou sees a silhouette behind the vending machines and hears Kotori talking to Rain, asking her to inject more medicine even though she has already had more than 50 doses today, begging her to do it, since it's a special day, and now she's a spirit, it won't kill her, not to mention that these could be her last days with him. She tells him that she has been like this since their fight and that they didn't tell him anything so that he wouldn't feel sorry for her and to act like he didn't hear anything. Then he asks her to go out with him and have fun, and she asks him if the transmitter told him to do that because the date is going so badly, to which he throws away the transmitter and answers that he doesn't need it to have fun with her. Now they show us Origami's new technology that is capable of defeating Ifrit, but she doesn't have permission to use it since the last person was incinerated in it after 30 minutes. And they ask her if she has seen the video they recovered from that day, and she can clearly see Kotori, the one responsible for her parents' death, who is suffering from the amusement park games and then complains to Shidou about it. Then at the monster's house, the boy says that if she's scared, she can hold his hand, and she says she will, but only to make him shut up. In the bumper cars, Kyuhei goes crazy at the base thinking of more options to see them kiss. Toka and Yoshino have fun on the boat in the amusement park, although Toka says she will call them later. Yoshino recounts what she heard by mistake that day and explains that they are on a date to seal Kotori's powers, just as they did with them. Meanwhile, we see that the alert sounds when the new prototype disappears, and they inform the lieutenant that it was stolen. The culprit is Origami, and she blames herself for mentioning that she can defeat her enemy while showing her the video of what happened. Then Shidou and Kotori wonder when was the last time they had so much fun, and she blushes because she knows it's time for the kiss. And after that, an explosion ends with Kotori's bench turned to dust, and a force field prevents Shidou from seeing what happened, while Origami asks him to leave as this will be dangerous, and the girl was not injured at all, and she tells him that she is aware that she has no orders and fired where there were many civilians. She classifies her as crazy while she transforms, conjuring her fire angel and her ancestral weapon, Kamale. The boy asks them to stop for the sake of the people, but they continue their battle, and Toka decides to protect him. Both continue the battle and destroy everything in their path, but Kotori shows superiority in the battle, causing her armor to give up. Then she prepares her cannon, and Origami calls her Ifrit, a name that confuses the girl on fire, and Origami asks her why she killed her parents. And this impresses Kotoki, who hears the story of how Origami's parents were incinerated alive. And this impresses and distracts Kotori, who is caught and protected by Shidou, who says that it's enough. And the boy asks her if she wants to kill her sister or the spirit, a question that confuses Origami. And she ends up being attacked by Toka and Yoshino in an attempt to save him and gain time for them to escape from her. Toka confronts her and asks her to react and if she remembers what she did to Shidou before, and understands that this is how she must feel about her parents. Once she takes Kotori to a safe place, she tells her that she loves her as a sister and asks if she loves him too. She can't answer right away, but she ends up confessing that she does, and they kiss. This causes more memories to be unlocked, and when he is attacked by the armor, he informs her that now he is Ifrit, and he has remembered what happened 5 years ago, and that spirit definitely killed them, but his sister has nothing to do with it. Simply, a spirit controlled Kotori's actions, and she decides not to believe his words. And then she remembers the promise not to let anyone suffer from losing a loved one while the time limit of the armor temple comes to an end. She can't afford to miss that opportunity, and he asks her not to take away someone as dear as her little sister. And we see how the girl faints from so much effort, and now they show us a small image of Kuromi, who seems to absorb the energy from a place for her angel. Rain apologizes for putting him in danger, especially knowing that she was in a delicate moment in her life, and acknowledging that it was a better option to have him kiss her as soon as he woke up. He asks if she really doesn't believe it would have worked because it doesn't count if she doesn't fall in love in the process. To which the lieutenant shows him a graph of her heart, and she had always been in love with him, so a simple kiss would have worked too. But she knew how much it meant to go on a real date with him, which is why she allowed them to go on a real date. Kotori appears, hitting the boy and saying that it's a miscalculation and the love level is broken and gives any number. The lieutenant confirms that they are okay, and Kotori offers an exclusive ice cream she has in the fridge, but she lies that the data is incorrect. Although she should be in bed, she decides to do the pending reports and will take advantage of having remembered everything to save the information, especially when memories can be erased so easily. Before leaving, she asks the boy if what happened recently is true, and he responds that yes, he loves her, but as his little sister. To this, he earns a well-deserved kick, and in the end, he goes to Toka to thank her for her help while they watch the sunset. She asks him to continue helping spirits but without kisses since she doesn't like him kissing other girls. The boy says it will be complicated that way, and she then demands a kiss, and the guys cheer them on from the station. But Yoshino's puppet interrupts them, and she says thank you for watching. And that's how the first season of this anime ends. If you've reached this part of the video, let me tell you that you've been one of the few people to make it this far. So comment the word harem in the comments. Remember to subscribe to not miss any videos. With that said, see you in the next video.